Shri Ganesha Sharada Gurubhyo Namaha Ramaya Ramabhadraya Ramachandraya Vedhase Raghunathaya Nathaya Sitaya Pataye Namaha. Welcome to all for this session on Ramayana to the chapter 14 of the Bala Kanda. In the previous part, we have seen preparations for the Dasharatha's Ashwamedha Yagna. It is in full swing, and the horse is also expected to return, and the Yagna is about to begin. Having ranged far and wide during a year, the horse returned, and on the bank of river Sarayu, the Yagna of Sri King Dasharatha continued. The chief priests under Rishishringa assisted the king in the observance of the rituals. Brahmins learned in the ancient science also officiated and assisted the king according to the instructions laid down in the Kalpa Sutra. The two special portions of the yajna, pravargya and upasada, was duly observed. Then the Brahmins worshipped the gods with joy. The illustrious sage performed certain rituals and offered Indra the part of the yajna due for him. Thereafter, all partook of the Soma juice, which destroys every sin. The highly souled king duly undertook third portion of the ceremony with the assistance of the holy Brahmins. In the yajna, no oblation was omitted and none wrongly offered in the sacred fire. All that was done was correctly carried out under the supervision of the sages. During the period of yajna, no Brahmin experienced hunger or thirst. Countless priests were present, and each was attended by hundreds of disciples. Workers, servants, and other classes were feasted like the Brahmins, and monks and ascetics were provided for abundantly. The aged, the children, and the women were served with all they to eat, and those who attend on them were willing and pleasant. By the king's command, apparel, money, and other gifts were freely distributed with immeasurable generosity. Mountains of cooked and uncooked food were to be seen, and each would have what he required to suit his needs. Men and women from many lands were daily entertained with food and drink. From every side, the king heard the exclamations, "How delicious is the food! We are very well content." Servants and retainers, gorgeously clad and wearing golden earrings, attended on the Brahmins, while others adorned with jewels served other castes or other varnas. In the interval between the two parts of the yajna, eloquent and learned pandits debated metaphysical problems and vied with each other in the display of wisdom and acumen. Day by day, the yajna ceremonies were carried out by learned and holy priests. There were none assisting at the holy ritual who were illiterate or unacquainted with the Vedas. Each attendant of the king was inspired by exalted principles, and all were highly eloquent and deeply versed in the scriptures. 18 pillars of wood were set up in the place of yajna, each made of a different kind of timber. Priests skilled in the art of sacrificial rites overlaid them with gold. Each of the 18 columns was 21 feet in height, polished and of rectangular shape, and all were firmly fixed on the earth and covered with embroidered clothes. In addition, they were adorned with sandalwood and flowers and looked as beautiful as the constellation of the seven sages in the sky. Sacrificial pits were constructed by master masons and the fire kindled by Brahmins. The sacrificial pit prepared for King Dasharatha was formed like a great eagle in gold, its wings set with gems. The beasts to be sacrificed to each particular deity were bound according to the scriptural injunction. There were birds, snakes, and horses, and according to tradition, the chief priest bound the aquatic animals such as turtles in the sacrificial pavilion. 300 beasts and a horse which had roamed over the earth were assembled. This was a practice in the good old past when animals were sacrificed during these kind of yagnas. However, with time, animal sacrifice has been discontinued in Bharata, and because of that reason, these days animal sacrifice is no longer being done, and this was done thousands of years back. Queen Kaushalya joyfully paid reverence to the horse before making the sacrifice with three strokes of the sword. Prompted by righteous desire, Queen Kaushalya passed the night watching over the dead body of the horse. Then the priest caused the king's serving woman and the courtesans to approach it. The choice born of the subdued senses, the fat of the horse on the fire, in the manner prescribed by the Shastra. King Dasharatha, inhaling the odors emitted by the fat, acknowledged and expiated his sins. 16 assistant priests made offerings of parts of the horse into the fire in spoons fashioned of cane wood being used in other yagnas. The horse sacrifice or the Ashwamedha Yagna, 3 days of special rituals are observed. During the first day, the Agnistoma is performed. During the second day, Upta rite. During the third day, Atiratra rite. The great Yagna acts named Jyotistoma, Agnistoma, Atiratras, Abhijit, Vishwajit, Aptoryama are also observed. King Dasharatha, the promoter of his dynasty, on the conclusion of the yagna, gave away 4 parts of his kingdom as dakshina to the 4 priests. The king distributed alms following the great example of Swayambhava Manu of old. The yagna being concluded, that great monarch gave large portions of the earth in charity to the officiating priests, and finally, that magnanimous sovereign bestowed the whole kingdom on the assisting priests. It is a customary that whoever performs such kind of an Ashwamedha Yagna, the king is supposed to donate his whole kingdom to the priests who are involving in that yagna. However, what the priest can do with that particular yagna, with that particular land that is given to them, because the land is supposed to be managed by a Kshatriya king. Then the holy Brahmins address that sinless monarch, saying, O Lord of men, we are not able to protect, defend, and administer this vast empire, for we have dedicated ourselves to holy study. Therefore, O great king, we render back these lands to you. Grant us in return some lesser gift, be it gems, gold, or coins, that would help us to maintain our hermitages. Thus addressed by the learned Brahmins, the king bestowed on them 100 million pieces of gold and 400 million silver coins. Then the assisting priest placed all the king's gifts before the holy sages, Vasishta and Rishishringa, and begged them to distribute them. Each one received his just share, and the priests were highly pleased and well satisfied. The king gave away gold coins to those who had come to witness the yagna, and 10 million gold coins were bestowed on other Brahmins present at that time. A needy mendicant begged for the diamond studded bracelet worn by the king himself, and it was freely bestowed on him. Beholding the Brahmins fully satisfied, King Dasharatha, with great gladness, made obeisance to them again and again. Iceborn then bestowed their blessings on the king, who was exceedingly liberal and valorous, and who saluted them by prostrating himself on the earth. Thus ended the great sacrifice, the means of destroying sin and shining heaven, and scarcely to be accomplished by other monarchs. Then the king addressed Rishishringa and said, O you of great and virtuous resolve, tell me what further must be done by me to be blessed with an heir. The sage Rishishringa replied, O king, you shall be blessed with 4 sons who will perpetuate the royal line. Thus ended the chapter 14 of the Bala Kanda in Ramayana. Here in this part of the chapter, you would have seen that lot of gifts were given to the Brahmins, the learned men. Observe here, these so called Brahmins are basically the people who are always involving in the learning or the research or finding new knowledge areas or in the distribution of the knowledge as teachers. They, as well as their gurukulas, do not have any source of income unless and until the corresponding king offer a grant to them. So it has become a customary practice in the society that at frequent intervals they used to organize this kind of yagnas, and during the yagnas, when those learned priests involved in the performance, they used to donate them generously, and all the donations were used towards spreading and maintaining the knowledge for the next generation. This is the Brahmana Varna of the society. Whereas the remaining 3 Varnas, they could find their own means of the money. For example, the Kshatriya would have fought against the neighboring kingdom, and they would be involving in the loot. And after the neighboring kingdom is looted, or after the neighboring kingdom offered their own money to the winner, that was shared with the people who are involved in the fight. That means the soldiers. So that is their source of income. Whereas the Vaishyas involved in the enterprise are the agricultural land producers, and they make up their own share. While the Shudras, they are the skilled people, they offer their skill as a service to the rest of the people in society, and they are getting paid for whatever services that they are offered. It is only the Brahmin, the learned people, because they're always involved in the studies, learning, spreading of the knowledge. They do not have any source of income. So, because of that reason, scriptures have made it a mandatory in order to maintain and continue with the knowledge from generations to generations, because this is how exactly Vedas, Shastras, including Ramayana, Mahabharata, Puranas, everything, they were passed through generations of these learned Brahmanas. And on the other side, we are seeing certain yagna during which the animals are being sacrificed. Those were the days when earth was covered mostly with the forest, having abundant number of animal. And often, if the number of animals are not controlled in the forest, they used to even enter into the area where people live. Often it had been a customary for the king to go out on a hunting game where they used to hunt these animals in order to control their number in the forest. But those were the days when forests were abundant and animals were also available in abundance. So hence, like they were doing the hunting, they were also eating the meat, and they were predominantly non-vegetarians, and the animals were also sacrificed, including those animals which today we call it as endangered. But these are the days where the forest is in a scarce and the number of animals also dwindle. So in Bharata, over a time, both hunting as well as animal sacrifices are considered inauspicious and they are wrongdoings, and even the law had forbidden them. Namaste Sharada Devi, Kashmira Puravasini, Twamaham Prarthaye Nityam, Vidya Danancha Dehime. Goodbye.